Here is a question that most UPSC aspirants never think about. When our constitution was being written in 1949, India had a choice. We could have copied America. Presidential system. One strong leader. Fixed tenure. Clear separation of powers. But our founding fathers said no. They chose something different. Something familiar. Something that suited India's complex, diverse, multilingual, multireligious society far better. They chose the parliamentary system. And that one decision shaped every prime minister, every cabinet, every no-confidence motion, every coalition government in Indian history. Why did they make that choice? What exactly is the parliamentary system? How is it different from the presidential system? And what are its merits and demerits? All of this in today's lecture. Chapter 12 Parliamentary System. PDF notes for this chapter are available on our Telegram channel, linked in the description below. Download them right now before you forget. Let us begin. What is parliamentary system? The parliamentary system of government is one in which the executive is responsible to the legislature for its policies and acts. Read that again. The executive, meaning the prime minister, and cabinet, is responsible to the legislature, meaning parliament. If parliament loses confidence in the government falls. That is the core idea. The presidential system is the exact opposite. In the presidential system, the executive is not responsible to the legislature for its policies and acts. The president is constitutionally independent of the legislature in respect of his term of office. He has a fixed tenure. Parliament cannot remove him simply by passing a no-confidence motion. Now the parliamentary system has many other names. It is called cabinet government because the cabinet is the real center of power. It is called responsible government because the executive is responsible to the legislature. And it is called the Westminster model of government, named after Westminster in London, the location of the British Parliament, where this system originated. The famous scholar Ivor Jennings called the parliamentary system a cabinet system because the cabinet is the nucleus of power in a parliamentary system. Which countries follow parliamentary system? Britain, Japan, Canada, and India. Which countries follow presidential system? USA, Brazil, Russia, and Sri Lanka. Also remember, in a parliamentary system, the government is also called responsible government because the cabinet, the real executive, is accountable to parliament and stays in office only as long as it enjoys the confidence of parliament. Features of parliamentary government. Now let us go through the features of parliamentary government one by one. There are 8 features in total. Let us cover the first 4. Feature 1, Nominal and Real Executives. This is the most fundamental feature. In a parliamentary system, there are 2 executives, a nominal one and a real one. The president is the nominal executive, also called de jure executive or titular executive. He is the head of state. He holds a ceremonial position. His powers exist on paper but are exercised on advice. The prime minister is the real executive, also called de facto executive. He is the head of government. He actually runs the country. Article 74 provides for a council of ministers headed by the Prime Minister to aid and advise the President in the exercise of his functions. And the advice so tendered is binding on the President. So the President must follow the PM's advice. That is how nominal versus real works in practice. Think of it this way, the President is like the owner of a company on paper. The Prime Minister is the CEO who actually runs everything. Feature 2, Majority Party Rule. The political party which secures majority seats in the Lok Sabha forms the government. The leader of that majority party is appointed as the Prime Minister by the President. Other ministers are then appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. If no single party gets majority, a coalition of parties may be invited by the President to form the government. We have seen this many times in India United Front governments, UPA, NDA coalitions. Feature 3, Collective Responsibility. This is the bedrock principle of parliamentary government. Lakshmikant uses the word bedrock specifically, remember it. The ministers are collectively responsible to Parliament in general and to the Lok Sabha in particular, as per Article 75. They act as a team. And they swim and sink together. What does this mean practically? If Lok Sabha passes a vote of no confidence against the government, the entire cabinet falls. Not just one minister. The whole team. Even if some ministers personally disagree with a particular policy, once the cabinet decides, all ministers must support it publicly or resign. Feature 4, Political Homogeneity. Usually members of the Council of Ministers belong to the same political party and hence they share the same political ideology. In case of a coalition government, the ministers are bound by consensus, they must agree on a common minimum program. Feature 5, Double Membership. This is a very unique feature. In a parliamentary system, ministers are members of both the legislature and the executive simultaneously. They have double membership, they sit in parliament as legislators and they run the government as ministers. This is fundamentally different from the presidential system. In the USA, if you become a minister, you must leave Congress. Single membership only. The executive and legislature are separate. In India, a minister who is not a member of parliament for a period of 6 consecutive months ceases to be a minister. So if a non-MP is appointed as a minister, they must win a Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha seat within 6 months. Otherwise they lose their ministerial position. Feature 6. Leadership of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister plays the central leadership role in this system. He is simultaneously the leader of the Council of Ministers, the leader of Parliament, and the leader of the party in power. In these capacities, he plays a significant and highly crucial role in the functioning of the entire government. This is why British political analysts like Grossman and Mackintosh described the British system as prime ministerial government rather than cabinet government. The same description holds in India too. Feature 7. Dissolution of the lower house. In a parliamentary system, the lower house, the Lok Sabha, can be dissolved by the president on the recommendation of the prime minister. This means the prime minister can actually advise the president to dissolve Lok Sabha before the expiry of its normal term and hold fresh elections. This is a very powerful tool. The executive enjoys the right to get the legislature dissolved. This is not possible in a presidential system. The American president cannot dissolve Congress. Feature 8. Secrecy. The ministers operate on the principle of secrecy of procedure. They cannot divulge information about their proceedings, policies, and decisions to outsiders. They take an oath of secrecy before entering office. And this oath of secrecy is administered by the president. Features of presidential government. Now let us understand the presidential system, specifically the American model, because UPSC asks you to compare and contrast both systems. Feature A. Single executive. In the American presidential system, the president is both the head of state and the head of government. There is no separation between a nominal president and a real prime minister. The same person holds both positions. This is called a single executive, one person, two roles. Compare this with India, where the president is head of state and the prime minister is head of government. Two different people, two different roles. That is dual executive. Feature B. Fixed tenure. The American president is elected by an electoral college for a fixed tenure of 4 years. He cannot be removed by Congress except by the process of impeachment for a grave unconstitutional act. He enjoys complete security of tenure, no confidence motion possible. Feature C. Kitchen Cabinet. The American president governs with the help of a cabinet, also called the Kitchen Cabinet. This is only an advisory body consisting of non-elected departmental secretaries. They are selected and appointed by the president, are responsible only to him, and can be removed by him at any time. Feature D. No congressional responsibility. The president and his secretaries are not responsible to the Congress. They neither possess membership in the Congress nor attend its sessions. Complete separation. Executive stays away from legislature. Feature E. Cannot dissolve Congress. The American president cannot dissolve the House of Representatives, the lower house of Congress. Unlike India, where the PM can advise dissolution of Lok Sabha, in the USA, the president has no such power. Feature F. Separation of powers. The doctrine of separation of powers is the very basis of the American presidential system. The legislative, executive, and judicial powers of the government are separated and vested in 3 independent organs of the government. This is fundamentally different from India's parliamentary system, which has a fusion of powers. Merits of parliamentary system. Why the parliamentary system is actually a good choice for India. Merit 1. Harmony between legislature and executive. The greatest advantage of the parliamentary system is that it ensures a harmonious relationship and cooperation between the legislative and executive organs of the government. The executive is actually a part of the legislature, and both are interdependent at work. As a result, there is less scope for disputes and conflicts between the two organs. This is very important for stable governance. Merit 2. Responsible government. By its very nature, the parliamentary system establishes a responsible government. The ministers are responsible to Parliament for all their acts of omission and commission. Parliament exercises control over the government through various devices like question hour, discussions, adjournment motion, and no confidence motion. The government cannot hide from accountability. Merit 3. Prevents despotism. Under this system, the executive authority is vested in a group of individuals, the Council of Ministers, and not in a single person. This dispersal of authority checks the dictatorial tendencies of the executive. Moreover, the executive is responsible to Parliament and can be removed by a no-confidence motion. No single person can become a dictator. Merit 4. Ready alternative government. This is a beautiful feature. In case the ruling party loses its majority, the head of state can simply invite the opposition party to form the government. This means an alternative government can be formed without fresh elections. Dr. Jennings famously said, "The leader of the opposition is the alternative prime minister, always ready to take over." Merit 5. Wide representation. In a parliamentary system, the executive consists of a group of individuals, ministers who are representatives of the people. Hence, it is possible to provide representation to all sections and regions in the government. The Prime Minister, while selecting his ministers, can take regional balance, community representation, and linguistic diversity into consideration. Demerits of Parliamentary System. These are equally important for UPSC Mains analytical questions. Demerit 1. Unstable government. The parliamentary system does not provide a stable government. There is no guarantee that a government can survive its entire tenure. The ministers depend on the mercy of the majority legislators for their continuity. A no-confidence motion, political defection, or the evils of multi-party coalition can make the government unstable. We have seen this in India. The governments headed by Morarji Desai, Charan Singh, VP Singh, Chandra Shekhar, Deva Govda, and I.K. Gujral all fell before completing their terms. That is the instability built into this system. Demerit 2. No continuity of policies. The parliamentary system is not conducive to the formulation and implementation of long-term policies. This is due to the uncertainty of the government's tenure. A change in the ruling party is usually followed by changes in policies. The Janta government in 1977 reversed a large number of policies of the previous Congress government, and the same was repeated when Congress came back to power in 1980. No long-term consistency. Demerit 3. Dictatorship of the cabinet. Here is the irony. When the ruling party enjoys an absolute majority in parliament, the cabinet becomes autocratic and exercises nearly unlimited powers. H.J. Lusky said that the parliamentary system gives the executive an opportunity for tyranny. Ramsay Muir, the former British Prime Minister, called this the dictatorship of the cabinet. This phenomenon was witnessed in India during the era of Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi. Demerit 4. Government by amateurs. The parliamentary system is not conducive to administrative efficiency because the ministers are not experts in their fields. The Prime Minister has a limited choice in selecting ministers. His choice is restricted to members of parliament alone. He cannot extend his selection to external talent. Moreover, the ministers devote most of their time to parliamentary work, cabinet meetings, and party activities, not to developing genuine administrative expertise. Parliamentary versus presidential comparison. Now let us put both systems side by side in one comparison. On features. Parliamentary has dual executive, presidential has single executive. Parliamentary has majority party rule, presidential has separately elected president and legislators for fixed terms. Parliamentary has collective responsibility, presidential has non-responsibility. Parliamentary has political homogeneity, presidential system, political homogeneity may not exist. Parliamentary has double membership, presidential has single membership. Parliamentary has leadership of PM, presidential has domination of president. Parliamentary allows dissolution of lower house, presidential has no dissolution of lower house. Parliamentary has fusion of powers, presidential has separation of powers. This last point is very important, fusion versus separation of powers. In parliamentary system, the cabinet acts as leader of legislature as well as executive. As Bagehot pointed out, the cabinet is a hyphen that joins the buckle that binds the executive and legislative departments together. Beautiful quote, remember it. On merits, parliamentary has harmony, responsible government, prevents despotism, wide representation. Presidential has stable government, definiteness of policies, separation of powers, government by experts. On demerits, parliamentary has unstable government, no continuity of policies, against separation of powers, government by amateurs. Presidential has conflict between legislature and executive, non-responsible government, may lead to autocracy, narrow representation. Notice the beautiful irony, the merits of parliamentary system are exactly the demerits of presidential system and vice versa. They are mirror images of each other. Why India chose parliamentary system? Lakshmikant gives us 4 clear reasons. Reason 1. Familiarity with the system. The parliamentary system had been in operation in India during the British rule for 30 to 40 years. Our constitutional traditions had become parliamentary. Our political leaders were familiar with it. K.M. Munshi argued brilliantly in the Constituent Assembly, for the last 30 or 40 years, some kind of responsibility has been introduced in the governance of this country. Why should we go back and buy a novel experience? This is very practical wisdom. When you already know how something works, why experiment with something completely new for a billion people? Also, Lakshmikant notes, the Swaran Singh committee appointed by the Congress government in the 1970s also confirmed that the parliamentary system has been doing well and there is no need to replace it by the presidential system. Reason 2. Preference for more responsibility. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar pointed out in the Constituent Assembly that a democratic executive must satisfy two conditions: stability and responsibility. The British parliamentary system provides more responsibility but less stability. The American presidential system provides more stability but less responsibility. India's founding fathers preferred responsibility over stability. They felt that without accountability, democracy becomes hollow. Reason 3. Need to avoid legislative-executive conflicts. The framers of the Constitution wanted to avoid the conflicts between the legislature and the executive that can occur in a presidential system. In the USA, there are frequent conflicts between the president and Congress. They wanted a system of harmony and cooperation, and the parliamentary system provides exactly that. Reason 4. Nature of Indian society. India is one of the most heterogeneous states and most complex plural societies in the world. Hence, the constitution makers adopted the parliamentary system as it offers greater scope for giving representation to various sections, interests, and regions in the government. India's diversity needed a system that could accommodate it. Distinction: Indian versus British parliamentary system. India borrowed the parliamentary system from Britain, but our system is not identical to the British system. There are important differences. And UPSC tests these distinctions specifically. Difference 1. Republican versus monarchical. India has a republican parliamentary system. The head of state, the president, is elected by an electoral college. Britain has a monarchical parliamentary system. The head of state, the king or queen, enjoys a hereditary position. This is perhaps the most fundamental difference. Difference 2. Sovereignty of parliament. In Britain, parliament is supreme. This is called parliamentary sovereignty. Parliament can make or unmake any law. There is no written constitution to limit it, no fundamental rights to check it, no judicial review of parliament's laws. In India, parliament is not supreme. It is limited and restricted by a written constitution, by the doctrine of judicial review, by the federal character of the constitution, and by fundamental rights. The Supreme Court can strike down parliamentary laws. The basic structure doctrine limits even parliament's power to amend the constitution. Difference 3. Membership of PM. In Britain, the Prime Minister must be a member of the lower house only, the House of Commons. In India, the Prime Minister can be a member of any of the two houses of Parliament, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. For example, Dr. Manmohan Singh was Prime Minister while being a Rajya Sabha member. Difference 4. Legal responsibility of ministers. Britain has a system of legal responsibility of ministers. The ministers are required to countersign the official acts of the head of state. India does not have such a system. Indian ministers are not required to countersign the official acts of the president. Difference 5. Shadow cabinet. Britain has a very unique institution called the shadow cabinet. It is formed by the opposition party to balance the ruling cabinet, to scrutinize its policies, and to prepare its members for future ministerial office. There is no such institution in India. Final rapid revision: everything you need for Chapter 12 in Prelims and Mains. And that is Chapter 12, Parliamentary System, completely covered. Remember this: India's founding fathers had a genuine choice. They could have chosen the American presidential system. Stable, powerful, clear. But they chose something different. They chose a system where the government must answer to Parliament every single day. Where a vote of no confidence can bring down the most powerful Prime Minister. Where collective responsibility ensures the cabinet swims and sinks together. Was it the right choice? 75 years later, with 17 general elections completed and democracy surviving, the answer seems to be yes. Download the complete PDF notes for Chapter 12 from our Telegram channel, link in the description. All features, comparison table, India versus Britain distinctions, and exam traps, everything in one neat PDF. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a lecture. Next video is Chapter 13, Federal System of India. Another very important chapter. Until then, keep studying, keep questioning, keep going. Jai Hind.